Hello, my guys and dudes. Let's talk about debate about Cardano, the fifth coin by market cap, and why I think it's gonna shoot up in price and technology capabilities. Well, it has the capabilities currently, but I believe it's gonna fulfill on those promises that they've been saying they're gonna do. Currently 64 cents, 64.5 cents to be a little bit more accurate and relevant. $16 billion market cap. The one above it almost doubles it in market cap, and the one below it quite a bit less. You know, Cardano has half more market cap. So what is Cardano? I'm gonna try to keep this video short. You know, it's just short little information videos of what the coin is and why I think it's a promising coin. So Charles Hoskinson is one of the lead developers of Cardano, and I remember when he was with Ethereum like around 2 years ago, and then the whole hack happened, and they had to fork over to Ethereum Classic, and there was some internal conflict as to how that played out, and most of the support continued to stay onto Ethereum. And Ethereum Classic just kind of died out, but it's still being somewhat updated by Charles Hoskinson and the team that works on Ethereum Classic. But now Charles, his main project is Cardano. Cardano is a blockchain solution like Bitcoin or Ethereum or Neo. But why I think it's going to be worth more, or why it could be worth more than these, is the way that they're taking it, right? Like, they're taking it super slow. You know, a lot of people like to say, oh, it's a scientific reviewed peer papers and stuff like that, and a normal person will be like, oh, well, that just sounds like buzzwords, and they're just trying to just get hype and stuff. But what it actually means is that when they're doing big changes, they want to make sure that it'll work before they implement those changes. Because before, with Ethereum, they would put massive changes into the system and just kind of test it out, and if it didn't work, they'd bring it back, and if it kind of worked, like, okay, well, let's keep it, you know. And that could have led to problems, and it did lead to problems, you know. Parity attack is a result of that as well. Bitcoin, very old tech when it comes to cryptocurrencies. It's digital gold by now. Well, it is now, and they don't want to fall into the same. Cardano does not want to fall into the same holes that the Bitcoin fell into, and Ethereum learned from Bitcoin, and now Cardano is learning from Ethereum. That's why they call themselves a third generation. Ethereum was second, Bitcoin was first, and now Cardano was the third, and they're gonna take it super slow. I think so far all they have is a wallet, but this could change within the next month or two. They're trying to implement proof of stake into their wallets, which is like, it's almost like mining but without the environmental impact. So there's no GPU needed. All you got to do is have some Cardano, and the more you have, the more you'll get out of it. So it's like mining, right? Like, let's say you have 1,000 Cardano, you put in 1,000 Cardano with a bunch of other people who have X amount of Cardano, and when all these different pools are trying to find the next block that is being distributed onto the blockchain, there's going to be a random percentage of each pool being able to get that block, you know. So it's like mining, and so there are going to be a lot of profits when proof of stake does come out. And when news comes out that it's getting close to being finished, I really see Cardano shooting up in price by like at least $1 at that point. I think its all-time high was around $1.30, you know, and I totally see Cardano going back up to $1.30, back to the 20-something billion market cap, if it's able to do this proof of stake. Their GitHub, right? Like, you want to make sure that the team is actually working on stuff. As you can see here, the team is actually pretty involved if you compare this to other GitHubs like Verge, I remember going to their GitHub when Verge was rising from like half a cent to like a couple cents, and I was wondering, oh, like, are they actually starting to do stuff now? Because it was just a fork of Dogecoin, so like, are they doing stuff now? And then if you look at their GitHub, there was no indication that they were actually working on anything. And people on the Verge Reddit would say that it's a private GitHub, or it's a private work area where you can't see what they're actually doing, which is not very, it's not very good for investors. You kind of want to know what the team that you're investing in is doing, right? So Cardano, a lot of people working on it. There was a tweet, I believe today, that said that they were voted #1 in commits. Just take that with a grain of salt. It was on the Cardano subreddit, so you can find it on there. So yeah, like, Cardano's pretty much trying to do what every blockchain solution is trying to do right now, like Neo and Ethereum. You know, they're trying to host apps onto their platform. Cardano also wants to link. This is a big one, actually. Cardano wants to link blockchain technologies with big financial institutions in the world, and you may think that this is bad, but I see this as a good thing, because right now there's not really a middle ground, or a middleman between these big financial institutions and blockchain technologies, right? Like, they're kind of polar opposites. Like, oh, like the banks hate Bitcoin and Ethereum and vice versa, right? But in the end, like, the goal of Ethereum is to be able to just supply financial independence to everybody, right? Like, in the world. And you're not going to do this if it's like a niche market. So you have to connect to everybody, and so you have to make this transition from blockchain to financial institutions, or financial institutions to blockchain, a lot easier. So Cardano wants to link them together so that we can work with the banks to make processes much faster and easier and cheaper when sending money across the world. You know, it'll also help combat against drug trafficking. That's a little tiny side effect of that implementation. It combats against fraud. That's also really great. That could also be a big reason that banks don't want to do it, because there's probably a couple corrupt people within the big financial institutions, right? And they don't want every single transaction to be logged, and then, because then they can't launder money around. So that's a big no-no to them. So yeah, if Cardano is able to make this bridge between blockchain and financial institutions, then we could start seeing a more mainstream adoption coming. You know, like, slowly. The floodgates are going to be opening. You know, massive general adoption is going to be coming with that. So I think the Ethereum is working towards something like that as well, but because their source code is not as stable as they would like it to be, it's kind of iffy right now. They have to fix a lot, right? But Cardano is still working on their foundation. They're trying to make it as stable as possible, so that if there ever was the need to supply this service to billions of people, their infrastructure will be able to handle it. Because right now Ethereum cannot. Like, you can easily see it by that CryptoKitties thing, right? Like, that's just like a little side game, and Ethereum can't really handle that right now. So Ethereum's gonna have to fix a lot of the existing foundation code to be able to do great things as it wants to, and I hope they do, because this will just be great for crypto in general, and for people in general. So yeah, that concludes my thoughts for now. If there's anything that I missed, I will let you guys know in another episode. See you around. Remember to smash that like button like you smash your homie's ass, and goodbye.